Dooku and Anakin Skywalker were remarkably similar to one another, despite their many ideological differences during the Clone Wars most prominently. These traits highlight why both of these characters were susceptible to the manipulation of Sidious. Each man possessed a brilliant tactical mind, known for being unconventional, but most prominently, of course, their attitudes were very similar, including their disillusionment with the Jedi Order. Both Jedi were very capable men, and Dooku in many ways was the proto-Anakin Skywalker, the prodigy of his own unique era in the Star Wars timeline. Each men thought that the Jedi Order were weak. They were frustrated with the Jedi Order's traditions of the old, their alignment with the corrupt Republic that led them to abandon their principles in the everyday citizen. This is the same thing that Anakin felt towards the Jedi, but he felt betrayed by them because of their mistrust, an inability to address the galaxy's larger problems effectively. This disillusionment with the Jedi played a key role in Anakin and Dooku's fall to the dark side. Each of them wanted a better galaxy, but in the end, they believed that the Jedi were not the right ones to correct it, that it needed a stronger force, an entirely different aspect of the Force. These two Jedi turned Sith are so unique because they're each pioneers in their own right. And today, I wanted to highlight the genius of Anakin Skywalker, how in many ways he's quite similar to Dooku, but mostly address an aspect of Anakin Skywalker's character that is frequently glossed over, that being how does he feel ideologically, and more importantly, what made Anakin Skywalker one of the greatest military geniuses in the entire lore? Anakin Skywalker's effectiveness in combat was rooted in his personality, skills, and his unique connection to the Force. Anakin was very gifted in battlefield strategy. In fact, he often employed unconventional tactics, surprising his enemies with bold, high-risk maneuvers, leveraging the element of surprise. His ability to think creatively in combat gave him an edge over almost anybody, including the more rigid military leaders, especially against the mind of a droid. But just like Dooku, he was fearless and he was determined. In the face of danger, he inspired his troopers to move forward. Unlike many Jedi, Anakin Skywalker insisted from leading his troopers from the front lines, taking on dangerous missions which even other Jedi would avoid. Anakin Skywalker's sole determination to win battles regardless of the odds made him relentless and unpredictable. Make no mistake, my friends, while he may not have been the most powerful Jedi of the Clone Wars, Anakin Skywalker certainly holds the accolade for the greatest military leader of the war, including both sides. This in large part was due to his connection to the Force, as it was unparalleled. Anakin's precognitive abilities would allow him to sense danger and give him a significant advantage in battle. He could anticipate his enemy's movements better than any Jedi or Sith before him, and he could make split-second decisions and react with superhuman speed and mental reflexes. Anakin was deeply loyal to his troopers. He earned their trust and respect completely. He treated his soldiers as men and individuals, and he was very protective of them. This fostered loyalty and extreme high morale around the 501st Legion. There were no more loyal clones to their commander than the 501st was to Anakin Skywalker. He had bled, and he had earned it. But the troopers weren't the only people that Anakin Skywalker collaborated with. Despite the council deeming him a hothead and not playing well with others, when another sound warrior melded with Anakin Skywalker, he became even more dangerous. Anakin's partnership with his apprentice and his master Obi-Wan Kenobi complemented all of his strengths, leading to decisive victories, as the two of them balanced Anakin's recklessness with strategic caution. The only thing more dangerous than Anakin Skywalker on the front lines was Anakin and Obi-Wan on the front lines. They were the greatest fighters of the war, maybe the single greatest fighting duo the Jedi had ever seen. Anakin Skywalker elevated those around him, a tragedy that he would later attempt to do anything in his power to push those below when he became the Dark Lord Vader. Anakin's mind was always focused on the future. In fact, this is one of the major complaints that the Council had against Anakin, and why he was not deemed worthy for the rank of Jedi Master. However, in the past, this served Anakin and his friends extremely well, and Anakin's forward thinking would actually save countless lives. Anakin had Ahsoka train against clone troopers in order to prepare her for the harsh realities of war and the galaxy around them. This developed her skill and mindset needed to survive life and death situations. I think this interaction is perfect. It illustrates Anakin's pragmatic and intense approach to mentorship. This is rooted in his own experiences and his life. He is realistic in his approach to combat. He understands that fighting against droids and the usual enemies in training does not adequately prepare Jedi for the unpredictability and the intensity of a real fight. This was one of the major complaints that Dooku had against the Jedi, something that he brought up time and time again with Yoda that he never remedied. Dooku saw the skills of the Jedi around him, and he believed that they were woefully subpar. not only compared to his skill of course, but what the galaxy needed the Jedi to be. That is the core similarity between Anakin and Dooku. They both desired the Jedi to change in similar ways, but it was because of their differing ideologies and how to go about that the two of them became such fierce enemies and actually hated one another despite their many similarities. Anakin Skywalker was a pure believer of resilience and perseverance. He prepared for the unexpected. He knew that the galaxy would not fight fair. Anakin's training with Obi-Wan challenged what he learned as a Jedi and shaped his approach to teaching Ahsoka. Anakin believed in rigorous, hands-on learning, and was not afraid to challenge Ahsoka with unorthodox methods, even if they seemed harsh at the time. The truth of it all is without this training, Ahsoka, just like the other Padawans, would have all been shot down during Order 66. But Anakin saved her life indirectly. Anakin pushed Ahsoka because he believed that that is what would make him a greater Jedi. But the Council would not push Anakin. They wouldn't allow him to reach the extent of his power. He believed the Jedi were constantly holding him back, and he would not make that mistake with his apprentice. Another major reason though that Anakin Skywalker was such a wild card during the Clone Wars was because he understood the enemy better than almost any other Jedi did, which is something that not a lot of people talk about. He was effective against the Separatists because Anakin understood their reliance on droid armies and their rigid tactics. Therefore, he fought these tactics with unpredictability, adapting to strategies quickly in order to disrupt their formulated, calculated plans. But this isn't all to say that Anakin was a perfect general, although he may have been the best. While Anakin's strength made him an exceptional leader, his impulsiveness and emotional intensity could get the better of him and lead him to taking unnecessary risk. This foreshadows his fall and birth as Lord Vader. But during the Clone Wars, this led to short-term success. Anakin's raw power, his tactical genius, his ability to collaborate effectively, and his brilliant leadership made him the most effective general of the Clone Wars, even if his methods were risky and unorthodox. Dooku, on the other hand, was calculating, composed. He embraced the dark side out of philosophical conviction, and although Anakin somewhat aligned with this, he turned because he was driven by his emotion. The distinction underscores the different paths that they took towards their shared fate, and ultimately leading both of them to become victims of Sidious. Anakin was torn between his loyalty to the Jedi and his personal desire. The same thing could have been said for Dooku. Anakin and Dooku were unique because they were some of the only Jedi that ever would openly question the Council, as well as some of the few of them that had a severe lack of trust in the Jedi Council. Both of them were put at odds at the Order for the same reason. But the real takeaway I want you to have for this video was the pure tactical genius of Anakin Skywalker. We constantly talk about his lightsaber skills, his powers in the Force, but Anakin's mind was one of his greatest weapons, as well as how he imparted this upon others. Anakin's training methods were designed not just to prepare Ahsoka for battle, but to ensure that she could survive and thrive in the harsh reality of not just the Clone War, but the galaxy itself. This was a reflection of his deep care for Ahsoka, and his deep fear for not being able to control the galaxy around him, a fear that would consume him, but still did a lot of good before his turn, had Anakin not turned, although it's been said a million times. But I think what Anakin could have been as Grand Master is far more than just the most powerful Jedi that has ever lived. But had Skywalker mastered his dark side, but he could have reinstilled the Jedi Order with his greatest personality trait, his unwavering loyalty, and a deep sense of compassion. Anakin Skywalker's greatest trait is something that the Jedi were criticized for, that being his great empathy for others, having a courage to act when it was unpopular, risky, dangerous. This is Anakin Skywalker, and this is just a small part of his true potential. But if you'd like more videos on Anakin Skywalker, we've documented the character in depth on the channel before. If you enjoyed this video and found it insightful, I would love to hear your thoughts on Anakin in a comment down below. Thank you so much, my friends, for joining us in the archives today and for continuing to support the channel, and may the Force be with you.